Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you stopping by. Today I'm doing a video on Pleasantville. Pleasantville is a 1998 comedy starring Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon. It's about two siblings who get trapped in an old black and white TV series reminiscent of Leave It to Beaver or The Andy Griffith Show. In fact, the TV repairman is played by none other than Don Knotts, who played Barney Fife in The Andy Griffith Show. Now, when it comes to the show, David here is a true fan who can't help but compare his modern world to the truly pleasant Pleasantville. And during a tussle with his sister Jennifer over who will have access to the TV that night, their remote is destroyed. Luckily, a mysterious TV repairman just so happens to be passing by and sets them up with one that puts them right in the show, literally. From there, the siblings must come to terms with their predicament. Guided by David's knowledge of the show, they must learn to adapt until they can get home. The general message of the film is that real life isn't necessarily what the townsfolk might call pleasant, but is still worthy of being called beautiful. The hidden meaning, however, I'd say is more to do with the simulation theory as well as illumination of consciousness. As we've seen in other films, you've got those who are programmed to run their scripted lives, blissfully ignorant, and those from outside, coming into the simulation to illuminate others to the truth of their world. The film begins with a few points of emphasis on the state of the modern world, the difficulty getting the girl for David, the dire postulating by the teachers regarding the state of the world and the students' futures, or lack thereof, and the modern dating courtship rituals for Jennifer and her beau, a stark contrast from the simpler times of the 1950s in which the show takes place. This is continued somewhat with the conversation by their mother on the phone talking about their absent father, the fall of the nuclear family. These comparisons continue while studying for the Pleasantville Marathon with his comment there are no homeless in Pleasantville, while his mother leaves for her trip with her new young lover. The TV repairman could represent God or the archetype of the magician, with knowledge of the other world and the power to send them there. Reminds me a bit of Christopher Walken in the movie Click. Both share the specific tool of remote control to aid the heroes in their journey of growth and self-discovery. Once in the show, David consoles Jennifer on their current situation, much to her distress. This is until the local dreamboat Skip Martin rolls up and flashes his smile. This makes her feel at least a little bit hopeful. Then in her first class of the day, geography, we begin to see the matrix symbolism start to show up, with the lesson being on how their whole town consists of just two streets. What's at the end of Main Street, she asks? Why, just more Main Street, of course. Meanwhile, in gym class, David discovers that no matter how hard he tries, there's just no way to miss a basket, simply because it's what's in the script, or the programming, if you will. That is, until he introduces the possibility of something outside of the script, like his sister not wanting to go on a date with Skip. Upon meeting back up, we hear more revelations about their simulation, like the books being blank and nothing being able to burn. David warns her that they have to go along with the script or they could throw these people's whole world out of whack. We get a glimpse of this after he arrives to work and hears that his boss, Bill, didn't know what to do without the routine of David arriving on time. Going against routine or the script will become a continuing theme further on. In an attempt to catch a break from Skip's golly gee willikers, Jennifer overhears about the local makeout spot, Lover's Lane, and decides that's just where they need to go in order to get him to bust. Out of his shell. Much to David's horror, she convinces Skip to drive them there. Later, after closing shop, Bill shows up to David's house and explains how he was able to break routine, and you can tell how much it meant to him to do so. Upon dropping Jennifer off, Skip seems to be in a bit of a daze. Then we see the first real sign of their world changing as a result of the newcomers, that of the red rose in beautiful Technicolor. When arriving at gym class, David witnesses what can only be Skip describing his date with Jennifer, which results in the team's inability to score baskets. David berates his sister for messing with their world, saying she has no right. This almost feels like a sort of prime directive moment. For those unfamiliar, this is an official directive of Starfleet in Star Trek, which prohibits them from interfering with the natural development of an alien civilization. She defends herself, accusing him of his obsession with this world's, shall we say, pleasantness. She goes on saying these people have potential, and they want to be hot and cool, like her. In her mind, she's liberating them. At this point, we start to see more color bleeding in, like the gum and taillights, as well as a new kind of marital bed. When arriving at work, David finds Bill having another crisis, asking what is the point of the routine? He doesn't know why he makes the burgers, and after a little pep talk from David about work and doing one's job, Bill goes on to share how he looks forward to Christmas because that's when he gets to paint the windows, and wonders why he should have to wait all year to do something he loves so much. Back at home, we are treated to a hilarious turn of the tables in the classic sex talk, with Jennifer telling her mother Betty instead of the other way around. She then goes on to share how there are other ways to enjoy yourself without a partner, and after drawing a hot bath, Betty discovers masturbation and orgasm, resulting in an immediate color change, commencing in a spontaneous combusting of the tree outside. A real turning point. Now things burn. I feel like sex is one of the bigger symbols of the film, as it's thought by Gnostic theologians to possibly be the proverbial fruit taken by Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden.
Cat?
When arriving to work, David finds that people are waiting to ask him about the fire and how he knew to put it out with water. His answers do little to quench their budding curiosity. There are some places where the road doesn't go in a circle, he says, where the road keeps going. We then see that the books are starting to fill themselves in, resulting in the library quickly becoming a lot more popular. We are then shown some of the older gents commenting on the ladies going to Lover's Lane, and now the library? Somebody ought to do something about all this book learning. Later, David brings Bill an art book to help inspire him to paint more. Needless to say, it works, and Bill comments on how beautiful it is, but relents on how he'll never be able to do that, to see colors like that, saying, they must be awfully lucky to see colors like that. I bet they don't know how lucky they are. Obviously hinting at us, the viewers, taking our colorful world for granted most of the time. David then gives in and asks Margaret out, even though it's not in the script, and upon getting home is greeted by the TV repairman expressing how worried he is about the reruns he's been seeing, warning David that the cookies Margaret made are for Whitey, not him. It's even funnier when considering the Urban Dictionary meaning of cookies. Jennifer wonders why she's not in color, saying she's had way more sex than some of the other girls, and she's still like that. David answers her saying maybe it's not just the sex, and we'll see later that he's right. While David's on his date with Margaret, we see Betty meeting with Bill, having begun his new art passion, and accidentally reveals to him that she herself is colored. The whole colored thing becomes a metaphor for racism later on. And when cutting back to their date, we see some obvious Garden of Eden symbolism. Margaret showing David some blueberries and then gets up to pick an apple off of the tree with a full moon in the background. Matrix soul trap symbolism? Throwing rocks at her window, Skip gets Jennifer's attention, saying he was expecting them to, but she says no, that she's studying, thus showing the beginning of a shift in her character, prioritizing her mind over her pleasures and the expectations of the men she dates. It then begins to rain, for the first time ever, apparently. George gets home and finds his world is now going off script. "Where's my dinner?" he asks to an empty house. After the night of rain, we see that much of the town is now colored, including Jennifer. Not David, though. George and Betty discuss the issue of her disappearance the night before, and he demands she go to the town meeting and she return to her scripted wifely duties, but she's not having it. Meanwhile, David and Margaret are approached by Whitey, and we hear a reference to racism in the line, "You and your colored girlfriend." At the town meeting, we hear of how things used to be pleasant, but are now seeming more and more unpleasant, and that there needs to be a separation of the two. The repairman returns to scold David and hints even more at the Garden of Eden symbolism with an up-close shot of him biting an apple, saying, "You don't deserve this place. Remember, he represents God." When witnessing Betty being accosted, David immediately jumps in to defend her, even threatening violence, thus going even more against the Pleasantville script, resulting in himself now changing. Brings new meaning to the phrase "earning your colors." A few of the coloreds take refuge in Bill's soda shop. They begin to go over the new town guidelines, which are meant to get things back to a more pleasant nature. Then, when this guy puts on some newly banned music, we see just how quickly people are to mindlessly follow the new laws of the town, which hints at or is reminiscent of groupthink. But David assures them that they can still do what they want. Freedom of expression, baby. After being jailed for painting an unpleasant mural with Bill, David is visited by George, who relents to him about all the changes, asking what went wrong. David replies, "Nothing went wrong. People change." This scene shows the results of David's character growth and acceptance of things changing in his own life back home. During their trial, David tries to share all the newly different things that, while not necessarily pleasant, can still be seen as good. He then goes on to get George to tap into his love for Betty, changing his color in front of the whole court. We then see that he's also changed others in the audience as well. It seems to be that passion of some kind is the key to shifting in color. He finishes by getting the mayor to tap into his anger, thus changing him to color in the process. We are then taken outside to see that the entire town has now changed to full color. Through the TV, we're also shown that they now have access to the world beyond Main Street. Jennifer surprisingly decides that she's going to stay in Pleasantville for a shot at college, something she didn't expect to be able to do back home, thus sacrificing her old life for the pursuit of knowledge. When getting back home, David finds his mother in the kitchen crying after returning from the rendezvous with her young lover, commenting on the age gap keeping her from enjoying the experience, saying, when David's father was around, she thought that was it, they had figured out life, and that life isn't supposed to be like this. He replies with, "It's not supposed to be like anything." This confirms his own character growth, coming to acceptance with his modern world and how different it is from Pleasantville, complete with a newfound empathy and understanding for his mother, sharing with her his wisdom. She asks how he got to be so smart, and he says, "I had a good day." We are then treated to a montage of Pleasantville to a cover of the Beatles' "Nothing's Gonna Change My World," which is fitting, I think. George asks what happens now, and Betty answers that she doesn't know, because there's no script, and they're okay with it. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of the hidden meaning of Pleasantville. It's always fun when I come across symbolism in these less obvious movies, and I'm hoping to find more. Comment below if you think there's anything I missed or have any movies worth checking out for more Matrix Dream symbolism. Until next time.